Hi everybody, Mark from Audio Pursuit. And while I'm wrapping up some reviews, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at 5 floor standing speakers that to this day I still miss. Now here's the rules on this. These are speakers that have come through my system that are no longer with me. So I'm not including the ones I currently own or anything like that. It's just the ones that have come through that really made an impression on me. So, number 5, the Golden Ear Triton 7s. These little skinny mini towers came to me, about 7 years ago when I was reviewing for Tone Audio. And, I wasn't prepared for what I was about to hear. And what it was a small floor stander that produced truly full range sound, down to 25 hertz on the bottom end. Now, they used a passive radiator, and that was a part of the key. And the designer of these was Sandy Gross. Now, if you know anything about Sandy Gross, he started off with Polk Audio, and Polk Audio had a lot of passive radiators, from their 5Bs to the 7Bs, the 10Bs, which I owned, and on up the scale. But he loved the passive radiator. What was also impressive was he used a heel tweeter, that folded tweeter. And really, these speakers surprised me. Man, they had gusto. They just were dynamic as all get out, and they were fun. And they were about $1,400 a pair. It was ridiculous what they offered for the price. And at that time, I really didn't even think about asking if I could buy them. I just was kind of already in tune to my Paradigm Prestige 75Fs, so I kind of took a pass on them. And I live to regret that. They would have been a great speaker eventually to hand down to my son for his little home theater, because the bass production out of those was tremendous. And the other fun thing was they were really easy to set up. You just, pushed them out as close to the walls as you could, and then you start bringing them in. And when you got that sound that wasn't collapsed, you hit the sweet spot. Fantastic. So, the Golden Ear Triton 7s, my number 5. Before I get to my number 4 choice, I want to emphasize that numbers 4, 3, and 2 are really interchangeable. They are so close to one another. It's hard to slot them. And the only reason why I would put these at number 4 is because I didn't spend as much time listening to them. I had them for a short period for a review. Loved them. Sent them off. And then, after I was done, then I realized, man, I probably should have bought those when I started calculating out the money. But once again, I had to figure out, what do I sell in order to buy them? So my number 4 are the Triangle and TallEES. And those speakers, it starts with the tweeter. It is phenomenal. It is a metal design. It has a cone in the center. And part of its design is to absorb the waves from going backwards. And when you listen to it, you'll understand. It is wide open, dynamic, but never harsh. Absolutely my favorite metal tweeter that I've ever heard. It's just outstanding. And I think maybe you'll understand why when you see their various speakers are getting rave reviews. Everybody talks about the tweeter, and that's the reason. This thing is special. It truly is an advanced design, and the results speak for themselves. Now for the rest of the speaker, dynamic is all get out. If you love dynamic swing music, basically groups such as Yes, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors album, you go to Supertramp, groups like that, you're going to love these speakers. And on the other hand, when you hear a solo such as Christy McVie's Songbird, you will know how special these are. They're glorious sounding. Truly an amazing mini tower. And I can't tell you enough how wonderful they sounded. Like I said, they're one of the ones I just think back and say, oh, if I ever get a crack at them, I may just have to buy a pair. So that's my number 4. Number 3 on my list of little floor standers that I just love. This would be the Paradigm Prestige 75F. Now, I actually bought the pair. I did the review for Tone Audio, and I think it's 2014, and just instantly fell in love with it because they were different than the typical Paradigm sound. The Prestige lineup really was their launching pad to their modern sound that they have now. Is much more natural. The upper frequencies weren't tweaked as much. They had settled the tweeter in. And it was interesting because these were metal cone drivers. And boy, just something different about them. They were just a lot of fun. They were gorgeous. And they had the best feet for a bass. Most elegant setup I've ever seen. And they looked incredible without grills. And, you know, it was funny. My wife, who doesn't care for look at speakers, she actually liked the looks of those. Now, what else can I tell you about Paradigm? Once again, incredibly easy to drive. They run about 92 dB. So if you have a 30 watt per channel amplifier, they're going to do just fine. So really, the Paradigm Prestige 75Fs, yeah, I did part with them in the past 2 years, but, you know, they hold a solid place in my memory. Number 2 on my list is a set of speakers that, you know, it's just, it's part of my DNA that I love this company, and that is the Totem Acoustic Forest. Just, there's something about that Totem sound. It really rings a bell to me to this day. When I hear Totem, I honestly think of incredible imaging, soul-touching sound, and it really does. There's something about it that just, it reverberates in me and in a lot of other people who like their sound. They image like nothing else. If you get a set of tube amplifier with a set of Totem speakers, sit back and be prepared to just marvel. Incredibly sweet combination. The Forest, you could load up the bass with some sand in the very bottom, and it really anchored them down, and it tightened up the bass. It was just, oh, great stuff. Something that I'll never forget. And while I didn't buy the pair that I had on hand for review, just didn't have the money at that time, they still sit in my memory, and when I see them come up for sale once in a while, I kind of wonder, ooh, do I want to pull the trigger on those? And I always go back and forth. You know, maybe it's because I want to hear their Totem Tribe towers and go with that route. So, really, great speakers. So that's my number 2. All right, my number 1 favorite small tower speaker is the Veri-fi Audio Fins. I wish I could describe these. Incredibly clean sounding, dynamic, as easy to drive as the Paradigms, but more open, more depth. Oh, you know, I jumped when I had the opportunity to buy these when I worked for Tone Audio, and loved them to death. My problem is that once I bought them, my wife didn't want them in the living room, so I put them in the family room, which at that time was my main listening room. And for some reason, our big rock wall fireplace just didn't do well with them. It just distorted the sound. It bounced all over. Could never get it right. I tried all sorts of things, and I couldn't. So I moved them back to the living room for a while, listened to them until my wife griped to no end. But what they gave was every bit of the imaging and the soundstage at Totem with a cleaner sound, a little bit more natural sound on the top end. Very much as open as Totem, but didn't quite have that hint of sharpness. Just incredibly breathable. almost kind of organic speakers in that regard. And unfortunately, you know, when I sold them, I said, boy, I'm probably going to miss these. And I sure do. Veri-fi audio fins, yeah, small in stature, incredible sound. If you ever get your ears on a pair, even in a used shop and you're not going to buy them, take a listen. They are really something special.